Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Molnar. I'll be giving a presentation here on NetPoint's role in pharmaceutical production planning. But a little bit about myself. Born and raised in New Jersey, graduated from Rutgers in 90 with a degree in chemical engineering. For the first 5 years out of school at the time, environmental remediation was a hot topic. A lot of RCRA cleanups going on, and I started my career in doing environmental assessments, primarily for the pharmaceutical industries. After about 5 years, got bored with that, really wanted to get into the field and actually do some cleanup of sites, which I parlayed that into an opportunity to do estimating for a company that did environmental remediation. So did estimating for a little bit, then won a couple projects, and project managers were saying, what were you thinking while you were doing your estimates? So I figured I'd learn, what it actually took to do work out in the field. So when that's really started my experience with project controls and project management. And it's essentially been history ever since. In 2000, I had the opportunity to come over and work with Merck. They had a large capital expansion going on at that time through some colleagues. So that got me into the client side of project management and in project controls. And I've been living in the pharmaceutical project control space ever since. So I maybe went the opposite direction of Dr. Gee in his presentation earlier. He spoke about going from scheduling to estimating to contract management. I came from estimating to project management and project controls. Had a couple successful years there, in early years with Merck on several projects, and in early 2000s, went to a scheduling conference and met up with Tim Mathers and others, and Dr. Gee at that scheduling conference. Really loved NetPoint and what it could do to enhance interactive planning. That was a key topic for me at the time, really getting projects set off on the right direction, visualizing the plan, multiple stakeholders together. So over the years, NetPoint has been my tool of choice in many situations, and I think I've used it in almost any situation that you could use a NetPoint with. So today's topic is talking about project production planning. The agenda here is I'm going to talk about what it is or why Merck is, and the division that I work for, which is GES, and we manage the 99% of the capital in the company is managed through our department, our division. And we've set off on a strategy of using project production planning. That's what we call it. And so I'll give you an overview of what it is, how we define it, how we've deployed it, and then obviously, since this is a NetPoint conference, how we're using NetPoint to supplement or to help us deploy this particular methodology. Okay, so if you're keeping up with the financial news or are a Merck shareholder or were at their business briefing in 2018, you would have heard this announcement that Merck is starting off on another large capital expenditure campaign to focus on 3 critical areas of focus for the company: oncology, vaccines, and animal health. On the oncology side, that's Keytruda is the main product that we have. It's very successful in curing some cancers as well as prolonging the life of many folks that are suffering from cancer. A lot of different indications for that product. So Merck is looking to expand its use throughout the healthcare industry there. The vaccine, the primary vaccine that we're looking to expand is Gardasil. The current valence of Gardasil is a 4-valent vaccine that treats most of the cancers that you find in the first world. We're expanding that to 9-valent vaccine and to basically capture 99% plus of the strains that you see in the third world countries. And we're looking to expand our portfolio there so that we can get vaccines to the third world and really have an opportunity to eradicate cervical cancer. And then the third is animal health, which Merck really acquired that through sharing plow acquisition in 2010 and really found it to be pretty profitable. And so we're expanding that as well. So they made the announcement that they're going to expend $16 billion through the year that's coming. Obviously, there's been some changes in the world, so that plan has since been changed, tweaked a little bit, but it's still a very large capital expenditure that the company has embarked on. Obviously, when you make this announcement and you are going to make this type of investment, there are some challenges that your company will face, right? Any company that does something this ambitious. Obviously, resources. Over the years before, Merck's pipeline had shrunk, so there was some downsizing and really not really set up to embark on this at the time, right? The base was depleted due to the low capital expenditure, so they have to reorganize, get the resources at the right place at the right time to support this effort. The organizational structure needed a plan around a global view of this. Obviously, in order to make a product that has a global impact, you have many sites in many different countries that you have to coordinate the whole supply chain in order to make the right decisions at the right times and get the product launched appropriately. So a lot of organizational structural changes happened in the course of the last few years. Obviously, the key is to get the speed to market. So the projects that were initiated needed to get done as fast as possible to, if you're going to meet a demand for treating cancer, the sooner you get it out to market, the better. And then obviously there were some market risks in deploying this. Construction discipline, attrition, skill gaps, and competition are some of the items or risks that we found in kicking this off. Another year later, Merck told their stakeholders or shareholders a little bit more about their strategy in deploying this capital expenditure plan, right? It's a lot of money, but we want to be effective in how we're spending that capital and that we're using it in the right places at the right time. So they told their stakeholders that they're going to be focusing on those areas for opportunity of growth, which is obviously those lines of business, the vaccines, the Keytruda, et cetera. But that also the way that we're going to do our business was going to change, that we are going to leverage digital capabilities and automation a lot more in all of our practices, right? So that kind of links into Dr. Gee's presentation on AI, and we're looking into that type of stuff in every aspect of our business, from capital construction through manufacturing and the like. So all through our organization, we have a renewed focus on digital capabilities and automation. And we want to simplify our supply chains and simplify our back office operations as much as possible. And then down at the bottom, creating headroom for innovation and sustainability of our missions. And when I joined Merck in 2000 on that first capital expansion, it was basically an idea of all hands on deck, hire as many folks as you can, get them onto the projects, hire them, and then when the pipeline started to shrink, it did cause some problems to us and the industry in that we had to let colleagues go, and there was downsizing, and it was not pretty. So we're trying to do this expansion of capital a little bit smarter, leverage our partners as much as possible, and do it in a leaner manner. Okay, so some of the strategy to actually implement this capital management, as I said, we want to leverage versus add. That's the lessons learned from the early 2000s. We want to align with strategic alliances with some of our professional services companies, as well as our EPCM partners. We're looking for partners that are thinking in terms of innovation and delivering projects in a lean manner, in a more efficient manner. And we are also looking at across the whole portfolio from a portfolio view versus a project by project. And we're looking at the portfolio from a we call it factories view, right? So we want to integrate with our key equipment suppliers to make sure they have the capacity to support each of our projects. As the footprint of our sites get smaller or denser and denser because of the work that we're doing at the various facilities, we want to try to take work off site, which means that we want to do more modularization and or kitting of our products or project the facility. So doing like modular pipe racks, et cetera. So we want to make sure our trades and our EPCMs can support doing that, having a factory that can produce those modular pipe racks, et cetera. Obviously, we want to leverage technology, BIM and 4D, as well as web-based integrated control systems that we can have all stakeholders within there versus the continually transferring data through emails or even in standard repositories. It's not very effective, right? And from the down on the ground, we are looking and trying to roll out lean construction methodologies and integrated project team models. So what is production planning? It's a holistic approach to managing the whole portfolio, a whole portfolio of projects. The symbol or the graphic up in the right-hand corner is that's standard PMI understanding of your strategy and the amount of detailed information you have along the timeline of executing a project and the deliverables and the way that you look at the program. But as we're looking at this whole portfolio of projects, again, we're looking to, we know the vision, we know the goals for all of these projects globally. So the idea is that we're leveraging those goals to standardize the work that we have across that portfolio and to execute all of these projects almost cohesively as a single unit, right? So that will mean that we need solid benchmarks and databases. We need robust risk and market analyses. Things change over time, over a 4-year period. As we've seen with COVID, things absolutely change, right? So we need systems and that track that communicate that, so that the successive projects can incorporate what we're learning in earlier projects and maintain that throughout the whole production cycle, right? And then it's a succinct corporate strategy built around the capital strategy. So there's minimal prioritization of our, like, a lot of times we go through an annual process of prioritizing the projects that the sites want, that the various regions and groups want. Well, that prioritization is kind of already set with these ambitious goals for the company. So and then there's clear measurements of success on our projects, that we ultimately need to get certain number of doses out in a certain amount of years within the capital that we have planned. So with that, we've taken the focus away so much from, every project being treated individually and going through stage gates. Although the stage gate process is still there, the focus is not so much around do you have every single document, every single deliverable to get you to this stage, but are you at the right place at this point in this project, right? It is more of the question, because the way that we're looking at this, somewhat to what Dr. Gee was speaking about earlier, we want to look at projects more along the lines of work streams. The WBS is more horizontal than vertical on our projects. If we're going to get out to market quicker, especially on projects where we're leveraging an existing facility, we will, a lot of times we're building the core and shell before the equipment is, or is being fabricated, right? So the view is more on like a process view and a work stream view versus so much emphasis on stage gates. The stage gates are important. It does keep our senior leadership and the governance teams abreast of where the projects are, but there's an understanding that some of the elements in the project are going to be much further along at one stage gate versus another, and in both versions, or even though we have a little bit lax view of the stage gating process, at the end of the day, that the basis of design document is expected to be at the same level as it was in your traditional method. Okay, so like I said, this is going from a mindset of design, then bid, then build, construction management, command and control, and traditional CPM, to integrated project teams. So we get our trade partners engaged earlier with our EPCM partners. We do continuous estimating, so that it's not so much to do your early engineering, then estimate it, then figure out that you are over budget, and then have to either do value engineering and come back, or go with your tail between your legs and ask for more money to your management. It's more of a continuous process of keeping track of where the estimate stands, and a lot of that, you're getting a lot of good information from your trade input in earlier phases of the project, right? Collaborative planning and execution of the work, and then at the field level, we're utilizing the last planner system. So having a mindset shift in project controls and the way that we execute projects is not easy, and it's certainly not easy in a large corporation like Merck, as well as large corporations like our EPCM partners that we traditionally team up with, the Jacobs and the Fluors and the IPSs and others. They come with their standard practices and procedures. So when you're looking for a more innovative, I guess, approach to executing your work, it's not as easy as just saying, we want you to work this way, right? So in order to change the way that you're working, you need to have a deployment plan, right? So as early as 2018, actually even before that, probably goes back to 2015, GES had started looking into innovative ways of executing projects, primarily around, again, the integrated project delivery ideas, utilizing last planner, boiling your schedule down to sizable chunks that the team can really execute against, and executing your project more from a lean perspective, right? So we came up with a strategy of deployment, and the way that you do roll that out is you need to shape the problem statement, let them understand the challenges that we have and how we feel that the new tools and the new ways of working are going to really affect that change, right? You could see in the right-hand corner, we also have to be honest about the challenges that we are going to face or have faced, and look to change those items that are causing that challenge. Cultural biases. The way that my company has done work is worked for the last 50 years. So why should we change the way that we're doing business? Another area that is difficult to overcome is, especially in the world of last planner, agile, some of the more innovative scheduling and planning techniques, is folks trying to fit old practices into the current practices, right? So CPM in the GPM world, or CPM in some of these last planner world is difficult, and it's a difficult mindset to get people out of, right? And there are ways of doing it, but again, we're creatures of habit and behavior, and it's difficult to really change the way that we do our business. And folks are resistant to change. And that last comment was even up from our trade partners, right? That trade partners are, everyone wants to do a good job, but their business is to just, you give me the design, I go out in the field, I build it, and if there's a change, I give you a change order and you pay me for it, and it's all good, right? But in order to really drive integrated project delivery, you really need the input and the ownership and the sponsorship all the way down to the trade levels, right? So we don't want them to give us effective ways to approve change orders. We need them to help us mitigate and to not have change on our project, right? So to drive that behavior with our partners is somewhat difficult. So what we do on every project is we set those expectations. We have the kickoff meetings. We train our EPCMs and our trade partners as to their roles and responsibilities on the project. That we, I say enforce, but we do drive the expectation that they are integral to the project process. And if we have scheduled challenges, we need their input, and they need to take ownership of the plan and the schedule. We're trying to get away from the command and control on projects, and we really need their input. They're the experts. They do the work out in the field. They have the innovative ideas to support our projects. So we foster that as a client. We have that expectation to optimize communication collaboration across our network of projects. So in deploying this, we definitely have some lessons learned, and some good, some bad, and the ugly, right? So some of the good things is that some of our projects we have benchmarked, and we are told that we are 30% faster than a lot of our peers in the industry. Now that's, on one hand, that's good. On the other hand, we still haven't gotten the nirvana of lean execution. I say that, in GES and Merck, we're pretty good at doing projects fast, but we really want to try to do them fast and smart, right? So the whole idea of the production planning is to optimize those work streams so that each of the work streams are doing their job quickly and fast, and that we, if one of those particular work streams gets delayed or behind and then have to catch up, obviously that's when then you need additional overtime. You're doing workarounds to make up that time, right? We're really trying to look at the waste associated with at that work stream level and eliminate it so we could be much more productive on future projects. Our EPCM partners are aligned. Many of them. We have definitely had some successes in it. There's still some work to be done, but we do have that alignment with many of our partners. Same with our key vendors. The factory view idea is so far working out pretty well, and the first major projects are completing near their milestone completion date, even with the impacts of COVID on the projects. Okay, the bad is, we've learned that sustaining it is not easy. Every company, trade partners, EPCMs have a certain level of turnover. So you can't make an assumption that from one project to the next project, everyone has the same level of understanding of behavioral expectations on your project. So you really need to have embedded in your standard approach to your PEPs is a deployment plan and strategy to ensure that the behaviors are set, right? The production methodologies are perceived to supersede some proven methodologies in standard project controls. If you understand last planner and some of the lean practices, some of the metrics that the lean community promote in the construction field, there's confusion as to whether or not it's an accurate metric to be tracking, right? So PPC it's called project percent complete, and it's really a measurement of the quality of the work being done in the field and the process of a project. And very often our EPCMs and others try to treat it as the productivity number, and that they're not the same thing. So in some respects, we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, saying I'll do PPC and not necessarily progress and productivity. And we really have to drive that. No, there's still some core measurables and from the traditional way of executing a project that need to be maintained and managed throughout this process, right? And then the ugly, obviously, is our friend COVID. Those three areas of focus, the vaccines, the oncology, and animal health, had nothing to do with COVID. Then COVID came along and we had to revamp some of our strategy because Merck did have some candidates, and we had to revamp some of our strategy and actually take some space in some of our facilities in order to be ready to produce the vaccine if everything panned out as well. And obviously it did not, but we do have a therapeutic product that is very close to completing its trials. Okay, so how did NetPoint support the rollout and the deployment of this strategy? Well, right off the bat, it helped us convey the concept to internal customers as well as to our EPCM partners and everyone associated with the project, right? Again, we wanted this focus to be on a work stream level versus a CPM or your traditional stage gating approach. So this structure down here is essentially our main structure on our projects, right? This one that I'm showing is one that's deemed the fast track, which is really the most compressed schedule that you possibly can have. But the idea doesn't change from one project to the next. We're really trying to focus in on these types of work streams across our projects. Then for portfolio views, doing color coding, you could do resource loading at various levels to show the cascading of the work across the portfolio. You can very easily see timelines and making sure that you do have some cascading based on portfolio expectations, let's say. And I have a little email here. It never ceases to amaze me that very often, whenever you produce a NetPoint at this level, if you get good comments back from senior leadership, it really helps them see the program, really communicates your message well, better than, in my opinion, than PowerPoint or Excel or anything like that. Because you can also then parlay this into some logic in a schedule and start building out from this level, right? Then the next level down is a little bit more detail on the projects to then start showing some critical paths on the project. When those work streams come together, the points that those work streams come together, so you can really understand where those critical pinch points in the project are, and you can convey that idea, right? And these bars will set work phases on the project, so it keeps it at an optimum level for folks to see the work and how it comes together and those key pinch points on your project. Another thing that I like about this is even at this portfolio view at this level, you can baseline this and then use this to show any potential issues or what would happen if things push out, etc. So we've used this effectively on some of our projects to keep that project level leadership aware of the project status. And then down to your level 4 type work, we use NetPoint to help us in what we call TAC planning. TAC is a way that you assess work in it's called a phase plan. So often, if I break my schedule down along these lines, and then I have a section in time here that kind of defines a phase of my project. So in installation hookup and to mechanical completion, that phase can be planned at that next lower level, integrating all of your trades in the from beginning to end of that particular phase. And the idea of TACT is that you're trying to find the right line of balance that all of those trades can really work towards, and working through that geographical area on the project. So we've used NetPoint to help us see that, to help us level the work, to understand where trades would be at what time on the project. It's not down to every single activity that they're doing in that week, but it's, you basically own this area for the week to get your work done. And we work that through the facility to optimize the overall schedule and plan. And we've done this also on a project. Now, I'll say that we didn't actually use NetPoint on this particular project, but this was more or less a proof of concept that it could be done. And the previous slide is where we actually did use it on one. But TACT, again, is a good, useful way of planning your work when you have multiple floors with similar work, similar cadence of flow through particular areas. And yeah, so NetPoint definitely, I believe, has potential to be a useful tool in the space of lean construction and in TACT. So why use NetPoint? I think that a lot of folks in this conference are well aware of the advantages of NetPoint, that it optimizes the palette of conveying your plan, of visualizing the work to the resource planning and leveling aspects and the backwards and forwards planning that NetPoint allows you to do, I think is invaluable and really unique in the industry. So really, if you want to level resources or level your plan, I just think that NetPoint is by far the best tool out there. It allows you, obviously, forwards and backwards planning. And then when utilizing NetPoint for phase planning in Last Planner system, you can put in the logic and it's retained, and as you move things around, it's in there. A lot of the software that's out there in the industry now pertaining to Last Planner, it simply emulates like putting Post-its on a wall, and if something pushes out, you really don't get that real-time analysis of what it will do to your schedule and to the project. So I think that NetPoint really has, again, a little bit of an advantage there. So why not? Well, NetPoint is not built as an enterprise management tool. Hope in the future that it does, that it gets there, that it's a standalone single file somewhere. Collaboration is real-time collaboration is not as easy as maybe these other web-based. Everyone's making their post-its and putting it up in a collaborative space. I did see a presentation on utilizing Teams to have multiple people in there, but only at one time is one person have ownership of the tool or the palette. So I think that there are some areas that NetPoint can definitely be improved and be really get that over that hump and really be the industry tool of choice.